Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. And today I have the lovely, extraordinary, speed running extraordinaire, Emma.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And why don't you go ahead and tell us about the communities that you're involved with?
Sure. So I am involved mainly in the speedrunning community and the Twitch community. I started speedrunning in 2015. It was kind of in a city where I didn't know very many people, and with my disability, it's kind of hard for me to be out and about and doing stuff. I wasn't a drinker because of it. And so, one thing led to another. I looked up some old games that I really liked, like Link to the Past, which is a game that I ended up speedrunning for years, and I found other people who were doing it, and I thought, this is pretty cool and I want to give it a shot myself. So I did. It was really nice finding people that were like me or had similar interests as me, and it's just really been a little home away from home, I guess.
Were you already thinking about your health? Because you mentioned that you were already dealing with some disability.
Yes. So I mean, really my whole life. So I was born with a heart condition. So right from when I was little, my mom told me a story once when I was kind of just learning how to walk. And one time I had stopped and I had just squatted, and they were like, what is she doing? I don't know what she's doing. And it turns out that that's just like an instinctual thing that kids with my heart condition will do. Part of the issue is that the blood is not circulating well enough throughout the body. And so if your organs are not getting enough oxygenated blood or the blood that it needs, so what happens is when you squat like that, it pushes the blood up to your heart and helps it to pump out more blood to your organs. Right from the get-go, it was, something that I was thinking about, or at least aware of and reacting to. Yeah, and then as I got older, I had open heart surgery when I was 7 years old. And that was like a big deal. And this was back in the 90s. So
That's a
not as
huge deal.
advanced. Yeah. And things are not as advanced back then as they are now. The first time I really actually thought and became very conscious of, my condition and how it's going to affect my life as I get older was when I was about 20 years old. I actually think it was my 21st birthday, where I had an episode where my heart was going up to about 300 beats per minute. I landed in the hospital and I had no idea what was going on. I didn't understand why it was happening. And it was very scary. It would happen randomly, every couple months or so it would happen. And I saw doctors about it, and they ended up implanting an internal defibrillator. So, those machines that you'll see them in movies where people go clear and then they shock people. So it's like that, but it's small and it's inside my heart. So yeah, so that kicks in whenever my heart rate goes too high or whatever. That's what that's there for. I'm in my 30s now and I am still dealing with the same kind of stuff, not as bad as I was, but a lot of the effects are still there. So, and my doctor at the time too, my cardiologist, she even sat down with me because she was like, you're at the age now where you need to know everything that has happened to you. And she basically went through everything and explained it to me in a way that I could understand. That was a really good thing to have. I kind of did my own research as well. I looked up and read other people's experiences and things like that. So that really helped.
You painted a heck of a picture already with, I'm guessing you would consider that not a good day when your heart is going at an accelerated rate. So you have the defibrillator.
Yes, defibrillator.
So you have that installed and it helps keep control. Is it fail proof? Do you feel it kick in?
Yes. Thankfully, I haven't had to use it, or it hasn't gone off, I guess, in probably about, I want to say 10 years or more now. So which is really good. We don't want that to happen, right?
Keep it up, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? Please, never again. So what happens is it's a very smart little machine. And there's basically a little coil that sits inside my heart, and the little machine is attached to it. And the machine is tracking my heart rate as it goes. I don't want to say that it's fail proof, because I've heard stories of people where it's, gone off on them when they're not having any heart rhythm issues. But for me, knock on wood, it's been fine. And I don't ever want it to not do what it's not supposed to do. So I am lucky in the sense that when my heart starts beating really fast like this, I've never passed out or lost consciousness, because that's something that can happen. There have been times too where like the machine has gone off because it reads my heart rate as being too high, and it knows it's like, okay, now I'm supposed to deliver a shock. Because I've been conscious for it, I feel it, and it's quite painful. Like they've compared it to being kicked by a horse. I've never been kicked by a horse, but I can't imagine that it feels good. One time, I think in like 2010, I was out dancing with my friends, and it happened there, which put a quick end to my night. And then it happened again about a year later. I had like a really bad throat infection and a high fever, and that triggered my heart arrhythmia. And I was at a hospital where they didn't really know a whole lot about the internal defibrillators because they were still like fairly new at the time. They weren't as well known as they would be today. I would say about every 30 seconds it was delivering a shock, and I was awake for the whole thing. So I was feeling these shocks like every 30 seconds, and it lasted for about half an hour. It was awful. Like I had legitimately had PTSD after that. Like I had to go through like therapy and everything because it was just like I was terrified of that whole situation. I didn't know what was happening, and my dad was with me, and I feel awful about it because like I think he had a lot of anxiety and kind of trauma from it as well, because I remember like saying to him, I might cry here, but I remember saying to him at one point, I was like, I don't want to die. Like, don't let me die. I don't know what's happening, but I don't want to die. And like, I can't even imagine like being in his situation, like seeing everything that I had gone through as a child. And then like hearing that, you know, that I like from me, and he doesn't know what's going on either, right? So like he's also like trying to figure this out. And, you know, I'm kind of over all the trauma for the most part. But the one thing that always gets me is that like I hate that I was like telling him like, don't let me die. I just don't want to die. You know, like that just, I just can't, like that probably just instilled so much like awful feelings in him, right? And I just couldn't.
Are there other things that had bubbled up as a result then of your heart condition?
Yes. Yeah. So part of the reason why I even have the arrhythmia in the first place is because of the heart surgery that they did when I was younger. They put in an artificial valve, and that artificial valve is now leaking, which causes heart arrhythmia issues. So this is something that they knew would potentially happen, and that I would potentially in the future have to get repaired. So I can't do as much as other people. Like I have a hard time exercising or like walking long distances or climbing stairs because I just get so winded so fast. I wake up like really tired sometimes, and then it's hard for me to move around as easily. It's hard for me to think as clearly. So you know how you are, like when you don't sleep well, when you're tired, it's like your whole day is just out of whack, right? Unfortunately for me, that happens more often than not.
Is there an opposite to that? Do you have days where you wake up and you don't feel any ill effects from it?
Yeah, there are some days where I just get a good night's sleep, and there are some days where, you know, even if I haven't had a good night's sleep, I still feel more energetic. And I think too a lot of it has to do with how I've eaten and how I've kept hydrated. And if I've spent the whole day on the couch, like I usually feel awful the next day. So, you know, if I've moved around a little bit, it helps. So yeah, it's hard not to sit on the couch all day, especially in the winter. It's like, you know, this is great, but I know I'll regret it later.
Were there things that maybe you've picked up over the years or you do more consistently now?
Yeah. So definitely when I was younger, like I in my teens and stuff, I really didn't have to worry about much. Like I exercised in school, and I would go to the gym. Like I was really living like a very normal life. But then once I hit my 20s, then it was like, yeah, okay, I had to really like think about it. You know, I had to start doing more to help myself out, because I definitely, like you said, you know, I wasn't eating well, and then I would feel like crap the next day. And it's like, unfortunately for me, I had only figured it out recently. But I'm thankful that I live in Canada, and we have some really good programs through our hospitals for people like me, and where they put you through something called cardiac rehab, a very well-rounded program, and helps you to move on from whatever you've gone through. We watched a video about just the benefits of walking, like just walking for 30 minutes a day, or it was like 150 minutes a week, and all the different things that it can fix. It can like, you know, help with depression and like menopause and diabetes, heart problems, Alzheimer's, like everything, you know, it was almost like a miracle.
It's like we're designed to walk.
I know, right? Who thought we were supposed to not sit on the couch all day and eat popcorn? Like, Yeah. So I tried my best to like keep like a gym membership or something so I can, or feel like I'm one of those old ladies where I go to the mall and I just walk around the mall during the winter. I guess more recently I started thinking more about nutrition. Like I had talked to a nutritionist before and she was basically just like, just cut down on butter and don't eat a lot of eggs, watch your sodium. It was like really it. But so I didn't really get like a ton of direction. I wish that I knew then what I know now about how important nutrition is and how beneficial it can be. And it's amazing. Like I know no doctor has ever told me ever that like if you just eat well and you eat lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, lots of grains, whole grains, I should say,
Right.
yeah, that like, you're going to feel better or your body's going to function better. It was always like, here's a drug and here's another drug. And, which I know those things like are definitely useful for a lot of things and are necessary in a lot of circumstances, but I don't think that it's like the answer. So recently I just decided to go vegan because I'd kind of always wanted to do it. And when I first started, I started feeling like I felt better, but I wasn't feeling like amazing. Like everybody said, I looked into it a little bit more and discovered that there's I guess a way of eating that's like also plant-based, but it's eating whole foods and it cuts down on like the fat intake and sodium intake and processed foods. And so that was something that I was like, okay, this is probably what people were talking about when they're like, oh, going vegan makes you feel good. This is probably what they meant and not all these like, prepackaged fake cheeses and fake meats and stuff. So
Aren't Oreos vegan?
Yeah, they are, right?
Right.
Yeah. You could eat a whole sleeve of them. And I'm like, pinnacle of health. Yeah. So I wish. At first it was tough because it was like, I kind of felt like it was almost a little boring, right? Like when you start eating like, I don't know, stuff that's not over salted or processed or loaded with sugar, at first you're kind of like, oh, this is like a little bland, but I stuck with it. And it's true what they say that your taste buds will change. Like after, like now it's like I eat a bowl of berries and it's sugar to me. Like it's like candy,
Yes.
It's like I crave that kind of stuff now. And I crave salads. Like I would have never said I crave
Yes.
salads, but yes. And I feel like way better eating this way.
Do you food prep for yourself?
Yeah, I usually make probably about enough for about 5 days. I definitely do batch cooking. Usually on Sundays, it's like my day. Let me tell you, like I'm pretty lazy, especially when it comes to food and cooking. I don't like to take a lot of time and effort to make stuff. I'm one of those people where I come home from work and I just want to eat. And if I don't have things made, I'm going to, go to fast food or order delivery. That's the kind of person I am. So I need to make sure that I have food ready to go quickly.
Is there anything, if somebody had a similar situation, that you would impart that knowledge onto them?
Yeah. So I think mostly just it's never too late to start. And it's always going to be important to start. If you don't think you can do it, just try it out and see how it goes. Just stick with it, and I really got serious and I like tried my best and just said, just stick with it. Even if it's boring right now, just stick with it. And like that, I think really helped me in the long run. Anything that's like processed or super sugary or it's like bad for you foods, just get rid of it. Just throw it out, say goodbye to the money that you spent on it because, it's just going to do you harm really. And like go and spend your money on things that are good for you. Do it. Just start.
Do you have any places that you talk about this kind of stuff?
I occasionally do stream on Twitch. I also have a Discord and there, I've got spaces for people to talk about anything they want if they just need like a safe space, because I think that's super important too, is like having a support network to like encourage you and help you along and stuff. So if anybody at any point, even if you just wanted to talk in Twitter or whatever, like I'm everywhere. So
well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. You're pretty great.
oh, thank you. So are you. Thank you.